we are pleased to have Vice Rector for Cooperation and Alumni of Universitas Gajah Mada to give us a welcoming remarks. Please, Dr. Paripurna Sugardha.
So there was a gap actually between the universities, the higher education, and industry that both don't want to be, closer in order to have a good collaboration. In the research, the same thing has happened, that many of innovations done by the higher education researchers sometimes does not match with the need of the industries. They sometimes just would like to achieve things that they think is good for them, but less beneficial to the industry. Professor Gordon Hewitt would like to give public lecture to bridge the gap between higher education and industry. So I guess this is the public lecture that tries to find a solution, the gap between industry and higher education. Therefore, I would like to thank FRSE Capital as the sponsor of this public lecture, especially to Mr. Patrick Tang and Professor Gordon Hewitt too, and for those who contribute a lot to let this very important public lectures be conducted.
Good morning, Dr. Paripurna. Thank you for inviting FRSE Capital to partner with UGM. Your Excellency, Ambassador of Croatia, thank you for gracing this occasion. Thank you for being our friend. And also, Pak Shuro Solisto, my good friend and partner for FRSE Capital in Indonesia. I think it is a privilege for FRSE Capital today because this is the landmark opportunity. After dinner last night, together with your rector and a very fruitful morning meeting, FRSE Capital and UGM is exploring how to collaborate together to bring about a digital economy into Indonesia, and I think that is very exciting. A digital economy that can even make higher education bridge with industry, because once we have developed a platform of the digital economy, skills plus education of Indonesians are exportable worldwide.
Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I'm delighted to meet you, to our distinguished guests, to our many visitors, and most importantly to me, to our students. You matter. You're the future. You're the future of this country. You're the future of civilization as we know it. And whatever else happens this morning, I wish you my very best and heartfelt support. The country needs you, and I'm going to try and give you a way of thinking about how you can make a very different course of action for Indonesia to take its place in the high league of nations in the future, not as many people would dismiss it, as an emerging economy, which I'll come back to later. You're the future, I support you, and everything I do will be behind you. The future is yours. The nation is yours. You're good people. If you think of Indonesia as global connected resources, not just people who physically live in the landmass here with its 17,000 islands, you get a very different view of the resources that can help make this one of the great world countries in the years to come. I believe two things fundamentally. Let me give you conclusions at the beginning. First of all, it's a controversial statement. I believe that every single country is an emerging economy. That does not sit well with many top politicians who have an old game view of what rich versus developing economies are. usually measured by old socioeconomic statistics. And you know where the world puts Indonesia. But if you come into Professor Hewitt's world, I will argue everyone is emerging into a new game world. That's very different. So the capacity to migrate an economy from old ways of thinking about how do you create wealth to a new game world is a test where I don't think the winners have yet been decided, not even the USA. The second point I will argue today is that in this new game world, ladies and gentlemen, no matter whether you are UGM, IBM, Sony, Samsung, or whatever, only 3 types of institutions emerge at the end of the tunnel into the new game. Would you like to hear my categories? Number 1, those institutions who make things happen. Number 2, those institutions who watch things happen. And number 3, those institutions who wonder what happened. 1, 2, 3. Every institution in this room today is in one of these 3 categories. Markets connect people in ways they never imagined. How many people here who were great experts on the future were predicting a Facebook 7 years ago? Think about it. At that time, the internet was still one-on-one. Are you agreed? It was me and Google. It was one-on-one. Occasionally little chat rooms, correct? But the idea you could build 1 billion people as a market in interconnectedness happened because we were living in a complex and dynamic system. Playing better is fine in a world where change can be forecast, can be understood, and can be reacted to. And sometimes when I'm doing my teaching part, the academic part, I just show boards of management or students a very, very simple graph here. I simply say, where is your agenda, left or right? If strategy, which is important because strategy is the basis of a discussion between government and industry. If strategy is on the left-hand side and is based on traditional assumptions and definitions of what is a university, what are we there to do? Do universities have a problem because we confuse outputs with inputs? We don't measure the value we create, we measure the students we produce. But in a new game world, you have to start with very different assumptions and definitions. Entrepreneurial density. It's not the number of connections you have with business, the amount they're investing in the university, or even the numbers of spin-off companies. It's are they connected in a cluster and reinforce each other. In 2008, as Mr. Tang reminded your distinguished guest last night, the macroeconomies went into free fall. A tiny second-tier investment bank in America called Lehman Brothers went belly up. No one thought about a complex system. Like ricochet, you know what I mean? You do that, it hits this, it hits that. No one thought what could be the connected impact of a Lehman Brothers. And so, in terms of bringing this to a conclusion, to create a new game in one simple idea, you need leaders who challenge the dominant logic of an institution. And don't feel disloyal or critical. The world has changed and the assumptions are no longer relevant.